Okay, so now that I have your attention, yes, you read the title correctly. When you think of James Harden, you probably think of MVPs, scoring titles, and step-back threes. So, how will he not win a ring? Well, today, we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a look at some of his strengths, weaknesses, and ultimately, why I believe he'll never win a ring playing the way he does. But before we begin, if you're new here, I'm Double D. I'm a huge basketball fan and I make NBA videos here on YouTube every week. So if you're also an NBA fan, or just a basketball fan in general, feel free to hit that sub button and click the bell so you can be notified whenever I upload more videos just like this one. Alright, let's get into the video.
James Harden, of course, crazy streak this season. What do you think of what he's doing right now?
I think I'm not a fan of in terms of winning championships. I don't think that style is ever going to win championships. But at the same time, you have to keep your team's head above water to win games. So you have to do what you have to do to win games, and he's doing that, right? Now, I think...
So are you saying you don't think James Harden and the Rockets, as constructed, can win a title?
Not with this style of play, it won't win.
Okay, so let's get one thing out of the way right now. I don't hate James Harden. The man is an MVP, a scoring champion. He puts up 40-point games in his sleep. He's the first player in NBA history to put up a 60-point triple-double, and he's without a doubt going to be a first-ballot Hall of Famer by the time he retires. While I do have criticisms about his game from time to time, I give credit where it's due. I mean, even in the 2018 Western Conference Finals after Chris Paul went down, I was still terrified of that Houston team because of James Harden. He's easily one of the most difficult players to guard that I've ever seen. If you try to stay in front of him, he steps back. If you reach, he'll draw the foul, and if you aren't close, he'll drive by you. He's truly a wizard of a player.
So how won't he win a ring, Double D? Stop stalling to get to 10 minutes.
Okay. Well, there's one main thing that I think will keep him from doing so, and that's his inability to capitalize on important moments. What do I mean by this? Let me show you.
No, game 6, what happens? Turns the ball over 4 times in the fourth quarter in a must-win game. Stephen A., including with 1:28 left, turns the ball over. Chris Paul looks to get the foul, right? Remember this? Harden's complaining to the ref, not getting back on defense. You know when he hits the 3? When the game's really over. 24 seconds left in the game, down 8.
Okay, so right off the bat, anything you see in this video will be discussing James Harden's career starting with the 2012-2013 season after he was traded to Houston. While yes, he was a great player in OKC, he was coming off the bench and getting less minutes, so it makes no sense to put it together with his career in Houston, where he's the star and has a much higher usage rating. Okay, so let's talk. James Harden in the playoffs with Houston averages 28.2 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 7 assists, and shoots 41% from the field and 32% from 3. While that's good, it's still a downgrade from some of his regular season numbers of 29.6 points, 6 rebounds, and 7.7 assists on 44, 36, 86. But the numbers become much more transparent when you look deeper into them. Out of Harden's 73 playoff games, he's had 14 games facing elimination. In those 14 games, he's averaging 26.7 points, 6 rebounds, and 5.5 assists, shooting 41% from the field and 36% from 3. Only a slight drop off from his regular season numbers, but again, let's go deeper. In the fourth quarter of playoff games overall, James Harden shoots 43.1% overall, 27.7% from 3, and 83% on free throws. Not terrible, but believe me, he gets much worse as the quarter goes on. In the last 5 minutes of a fourth quarter with a margin of 5 points or less, he shoots 36.1% from the field, 15.6% from 3, and 86% on free throws. In the last 2 minutes, margin of 5 points or less, he shoots 31.8% from the field, 11% from 3, and 88% on free throws. And lastly, on game-tying and go-ahead shots in the last 24 seconds, he shoots 1 for 12 overall and 0 for 7 on threes. Now, I know what you may be thinking. This looks bad. And that's because it is. That's f***ing terrible. Again, I don't hate James Harden. I just can't stand seeing tweets like this that have absolutely no context to them. Because while yes, his overall numbers are great, once you take a step back, Once you take a step back and actually look into everything, you start to realize very quickly just why this narrative exists. Because while yes, he does have his playoff moments, he has more notable the bad moments in his playoff career. In Game 4 against OKC in 2013, down 3-0, James Harden scores 15 points on 4 for 12 shooting and records 10 turnovers. In Game 5 against Portland in 2014, he scores 17 points on 5 for 15 shooting. In Games 6 and 7 against the Clippers in 2015, he shot a combined 12 for 40 from the field. The next series against Golden State, in which I guess Harden thought they got swept because he was ghosting Game 5, putting up 14 points on 2 for 11 shooting and recording 12 turnovers. The next year, in 2016, Harden and the Rockets face a Warriors team without the unanimous MVP Steph Curry and still get shut out in 5 games. In 2017, Harden would be in a pivotal Game 5 against the Spurs and get blocked by a 39-year-old Manu Ginobili. Then, in a Game 6 at home with no Kawhi Leonard, puts up 10 points on 2 for 11 shooting, records 6 turnovers, and then fouls out. Rockets lose by 39. In 2018, the Rockets match up against Golden State once again. Chris Paul goes down, so that's the series, right? But wait. In Game 6, Houston held a 17-point lead early in the game, but would go on to get outscored 64-25 in the second half, including 31-9 in the fourth quarter to lose by 29. Anyway, Game 7 was back on Houston's floor, and they get out to another big lead in the first half. They led by 15 points in the second quarter, but would go on to have perhaps the most infamous meltdown of all time by missing 27 straight threes. Okay, but that's a team thing. How did Harden do? James Harden in that game would drop 32 points on 12 for 29 from the field and 2 for 13 from 3. But run it back. 2019 would see Houston match up against Golden State. I touched on this a bit in my Steph Curry video, but I'm gonna go more in depth here since there were details that were missed and they're relevant here. Anyway, James Harden was being James Harden, Kevin Durant was being Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry was nowhere to be found. After a quick 2-0 lead, Houston would eventually come back to tie the series 2-2. With a Game 5 at Oracle, Golden State jumped out to a 20-point lead, which very quickly evaporated. And then, the guy averaging 34 points in the playoffs, the guy that damn near dropped 50 points on these guys just 2 games before, now it goes down. In a Game 5 where they came back down 20, in a series where Steph Curry was basically dead weight being dragged by KD. In my opinion, this was the absolute best chance Houston was ever gonna have to take out Golden State. And so, what happened? Steph Curry steps up big in the fourth quarter to close out Game 5, while James Harden scores just 5 of his 31 points in the fourth quarter. Okay, well, Game 6 is at home, so what happened then? Well, not only was the game tied at halftime despite Steph Curry being scoreless, but James Harden would shoot 5 for 15 in the first half. In the second half, Curry would drop 33 points to Harden's 16, which isn't bad, but when we look at his fourth quarter, you see that Harden did put up 12 points, but he also committed 4 turnovers, with 3 of them occurring in the last 2.5 minutes. Houston loses to a Warriors team with Kevin Durant out, and this may be the most damaging thing to happen to Harden's legacy. After a year of saying run it back, doing damn investigations into the officiating, you finally get a Golden State team that's vulnerable, and you can't capitalize. I mean, just listen to Austin Rivers here.
They just kept playing. I think we expected Game 6 to be, all right, we'll come out, kind of punch them in the mouth, they're going to quit, fold, and then they're going to be like, all right, we'll try to get Game 7. We came around and messed around, and then they were like, they're not taking this game. They're not taking this game, and it went downhill from there.
This is a series that you have to close. And don't get me wrong, Harden is a great player. And this isn't just like the roast of James Harden or something. But this is becoming a pattern with him, and you can see it here. When you're repeatedly getting sent home by teams without their best player, like the Warriors in 2016 without Steph Curry, the Spurs in 2017 without Kawhi Leonard, and now the Warriors in 2019 without Kevin Durant. Your legacy will take a huge hit from that. I want James Harden to win a ring eventually. Believe me, I do. Because it makes me feel bad seeing guys like AI, Chris Paul, and Steve Nash, who had a lot of talent but were just never able to win. James Harden, like a lot of superstars in the league, is a once-in-a-generation talent. And I don't want him to just be remembered as that guy that put up concert date stat lines and step-back threes here and there. I want his play to actually go towards something meaningful, like other than his MVP of course, but I just can't see that changing if they don't make changes. With that being said, James Harden is still one of the best players in the league, and he'll continue to be a problem for teams for years to come. And he deserves respect, because we only get to watch these guys for so long, so why spend that time hating? I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. Comment down below what you guys want to see next. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.